Oh, we live.
We are live. We live in an amazing world where you can basically do whatever you want from wherever you want. And as proof of this, I am in Cape Town, South Africa, and Sua is in, well,
Ho
Vietnam
Chi Minh
or
City.
Bali,
Yeah, Ho Chi Minh City. I just came back from Bali.
right? So what we
Cape
want to talk
Town.
about,
Wow.
yeah, yeah. It's we're almost. I think we're about a third or a little bit more of the world away from each other. Not. I don't think we're halfway around the world from each other. That would be our
This is
hometown of
amazing. Yeah.
Vancouver. It is amazing. So that's what we want to talk to you all about today: is remote work and how you can do that. And we have put together a presentation, so I'm going to put it on the screen now, so you can see it. There you go. Freedom in brokering, work from anywhere. So, what is stopping you? And I don't know if you have control.
Yeah.
Can you change the slides?
I don't know how that slides change. Oh yeah, I think so. Yes, next slide. Yes, I can.
There you go. All right. So, let's
Yeah.
talk about the
This is
5 fears
amazing
of going remote.
technology.
That's right.
Yeah, there's seven fears of going remote. Remote meaning remote work, remote location. I don't think it's we could get as remote as Bali or Cape Town for that matter. If you're looking at, our business back in Canada, right? Our clients are back in Canada. Or for you, you have some clients in the United States too, right? So this is
Yeah.
amazing. We're like not even there where our clients are, where customers are, right?
Right. So,
And able
Sua,
to serve
before we
them.
get into this, maybe tell us a little bit of your background.
Originally, I worked for the big banks, and then I went independent as an independent mortgage broker. But I guess over time, the dream, not they, the dream itself about working for 9 to 5 and moving into independent mortgage broking. I thought that would free me up more time and doing what I want to do in life, right? Be able to get to travel more, make more money, but I'm still stuck back home. All right, still stuck with the chasing the clients, chasing the realtor, and all that. But over times, speaking with different people, like I came in contact with Scott, for example, and a few others that have taught me different ways of doing business. And from that, my travel has led me to become a digital nomad now. In the past, I'll say 5 years, I've been in Southeast Asia, mostly in between Bali and Vietnam, and doing what I love. I mean, it's still doing commercial financing and teaching about commercial financing itself. But my customers are back home in Canada, like just like yourself, overseas, like we are overseas, right? And which is really make me love what I do more because I can travel now and I can still make money, back from Canada. So Canadian currency and traveling in a country that doesn't require a lot of expense, right? And it's quite expensive to eat, stay in luxury. I'll talk about it later, but it's like my story basically is what everybody is looking towards to do now. Since COVID, it got stuck at home, and we don't want to be stuck there anymore. We want the freedom, the flexibility to travel, but also having a stable income source, right? That's the trouble with a lot of digital entrepreneurs that they don't have that, and when they travel, they don't have work, or they're trying to find work in the country that they're traveling to. You can't do that, right? So that's all about me. I have been commercial financing in this industry for over 30 years, and I have evolved over the past few years into doing what I used to help other people do was build beautiful places, build multifamily, build commercial. Now instead, I am doing what I've been helping them to do, which is now building resorts. In Bali, we finished it. It's self-managed now. It's doing well. The numbers do really great, and we're expecting to go even better and better over time as people get to know about us. And the next project here is in Dalat, Vietnam. That's why I'm here in Vietnam. Boots on the ground, right? De-risk everything and manage everything from local because really that is a hands-on thing. Helping with financing, oh, we'll talk about that in a bit. So Tell about Scott here. I mean, I met Scott and he's so amazing. He has his story. He's traveled to like 77 countries. I'm like, I got 33 countries, and I thought that's a lot. Well, that's mind blowing. 77 is double what I had, right? And I'm so excited to connect with Scott and how he's actually developed a system to help other people like myself, like with virtual assistant team, entire team. So I don't have to go trying to interview people, trying to find the right person. He's got it all. He's been doing this for a decade now. And he's traveled in a short period of time as well, just like me. I think 8, 9 years, Scott,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
But it's incredible. When you're making six figures, and we're not in low six figure, right? We're talking big dollars still, but able to travel and do what we love. When we connect with clients, just like you connect with me, right? Like there's a fire, there's a passion because we love our life and we
Yeah.
value our clients. And when I speak with my client too, they say, "You sound different, Sue. You sound like you're much younger, more excited again." I said, "Yeah, because I actually enjoy this, rather than being stuck at the table, being stuck in the office, and I gotta go to the office. Oh, I gotta go meet a client." It's like, thank God to COVID. Actually, it's a blessing disguised in one thing, and it's a sad thing for another thing. But what we got out of this is the good stuff, right, Scott? Is that
Yeah.
everybody's
For
used to getting
sure.
a Zoom now, right? Everybody's used to seeing us not in person anymore, but still, interact live, right? It's not a recording, and
That's
clients
right.
love it.
It's not
So
AI.
anyway, share about you yourself, Scott. So the rest of the crew knows, rest of the audience knows about you. They know me now, though. Talk about you.
Well, Sue and I, we met talking at the Freedom Summit in the Philippines, Kuala Lumpur, Singapore, Bali. After Bali, Sue said, "Oh, I found this place on the North Coast. It's awesome. Come." So I went, and I think it was about, I don't know if it was a week or a little bit longer. And so we really got this connection going. And then after that, I started following Sua's journey, because at that point I believe you were still like in Vancouver, and the next thing I know
Yep.
he's in Bali, and then he's building these places, and of course I see it when they put in the foundation, I see it when they put a wall, I see it when they put a roof, and had the honor last year of coming and spending a week with you at Susi Villas, which is
Susie
amazing.
Vilas, yeah.
Everybody should go and experience that Balinese culture. And previous to that, I'd always wanted to travel, but I was raising my two sons as a single dad. And at that point, stability was really important. And this is one of the things that I tell everybody. You have seasons in your life, the spring where you plant things, the summer when you tend them, the harvest in the fall, and that can happen over and over and over and over again. And when I wanted my sons to have a really strong background, I wanted them to have stability, schooling, all that sort of stuff. And the last one left home, and all of a sudden, nobody was sick. Everybody had jobs. What do I do when I have zero responsibilities? Fortunately, I knew this was coming, and I knew that I wanted to travel. But the thing is, wanting to do something, desiring to do it, doesn't mean that when you do it, you like it, right? Like there's a lot of times people try stuff and I don't like, and I applaud people that try things that they don't know if they're going to like or not. They think they might, and it's not a failure if you don't like it. Like I like to do pottery in my 20s, right? And if I tried it and the thing collapsed and I hated it and I left it, that's okay because I tried it. And that's the important
Yep.
thing, is that you experience things and you learn about yourself and your skills and everything else. So 3 times before my youngest son left home, I went on a 6-week trip. The first one was to Machu Picchu with stops in Colombia and Ecuador. And the next 2 were basically somewhere in Mexico down to Colombia and staying at different, Costa Rica, Panama, Belize, that sort of thing. And what I discovered was 2 things. One, the big question was, if I travel, can I get my work done? Yes. Second one was, do I like it? Yes. And the third one, obviously, is always, did the Wi-Fi work? Not always. But today, 7 years later, it's terrific
A lot
compared to
better.
the way,
Yeah.
the way that it was.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So I've just continued to set. What I basically do is I say I want to go in this direction. Right now, it's Africa. Or in a few years ago, it was South America. I didn't get to all of South
Mhm.
America, and I'm not getting to all of Africa. It's not about It is really about stamps in the passport, but it's not about stamps in the passport. It's like going, in my opinion, where God sends me, and also where what I want to see. And so
Yeah.
I'm in South Africa right now. I'll be in Mozambique in a month, and then I'll probably be in Kenya for a little bit, and then I'll head over to Mexico, and then I'll be home for Christmas with my grandsons and my boys. There it is.
It is a fantastic journey. So that's, when you put the title there, it is a fantastic journey. You really think about it. We've only dreamt about doing this in early parts of our life. I mean, thank God technology has caught up. Thank God that most of the developing country have good internet. I mean, even in Bali, it's like the last few years pretty horrible internet. Starlink now, so we have Starlink in Elon Musk. Thank God, it's in Indonesia now. Soon coming to be available to the general public in Vietnam as well. So we'll have that when that rolls out. Right now, the beta testing Starlink in Vietnam. I am so pumped. They have 5G here, which is amazing. We got 5G in my phone. I'm paying like I did some math earlier. I'm paying like 7 gig. I get 7 gig per day. I'm paying less than $8, $7.85 per month. That's
Man, oh man,
insane
Canada
on a
needs,
5G
this is
phone.
one of the reasons why we go elsewhere, because sometimes in Canada it's just too expensive, too
It
strict,
is.
too rigid.
Yes.
I don't want this to be a bash Canada type thing.
No, it's and it's not. Canada has got its good things, got the mountains and it's got the ocean and all, the lakes, and it's great hiking, and people are lovely in wherever we go in Canada. Yeah.
That's right.
This is not be a political or anything. It is more about sharing what we learned and what sharing what Scott has learned. And we should dive right into it now, Scott, so that we respect
Let's do
everybody's
that.
time and want to get to the point as soon as possible. Um, Now, basically, there was 7 things I'll tackle today, and it's led me to having this conversation with Scott and to come on here, and he was sharing his insights too, because he traveled different places than I have, right? So one of the things that we enjoy the most, as Scott will share with you, is like our dollar goes far. Every country we've been to. I mean, there's rarely ever you go to a country where our dollar doesn't do well. Man, United States, maybe
Right.
UK, right? But how much? Why would you need to go there with so many other beautiful countries in the world to explore, right? You might as well stay home. That's the way I look at it. You might just go from West Coast to East Coast, right? So anyway, let's go.
Yeah.
Next slide here.
Let's go. All right.
But yeah,
Oops.
sorry, go back. Yeah. The biggest thing for Scott and I, and he like to schedule this right now. What time are you at, Scott? Right now for me it's like 11 o'clock at night.
Six
What time is it
fifteen.
you?
6:15.
6 6 o'clock p.m. Right?
Yep.
I
Yep.
am 11 p.m. So and you guys are for some in the morning, I believe, right? Back in Pacific
Yes.
Standard Time
9
in
in
the
the
morning.
morning on the West Coast. It's noon
Yeah,
on the East Coast.
yeah, nine in the morning there, and noon in Toronto time there. See, so you can make it work, right?
Yeah.
I work around this hour until about 2 a.m. All right, because during Monday to Friday routine, and that time zone works great for me because I'm a night owl and I enjoy this. All right, I really didn't like waking up early. I don't mind waking up to 2 a.m. in the morning. You know, and then when
Right.
I wake up in later in 5 6 hours of sleep, that's fine. I can get my morning coffee, connect with some of my clients because then it'd be nighttime back in Pacific Standard Time, right? Where most of my clients come home, I'm up. I got my 5 6 hours of sleep, right?
Yeah.
And I time block my day around my activities, or not my business, but around my activities, right? Around my personal life. I forced myself to take naps. And Scott Purr, should have introduced me into this nap thing years ago, right? But I found out by accident. One day I was so wiped out. I just taken a power nap. When I woke up, I felt like I had 6 hours of sleep or 8 hours of sleep, right? So I was rejuvenated, did all the work again, start over, right? Like a brand new person during the day. It's amazing how nap is.
Yeah.
Maybe because I'm getting old.
I
What do you
think
think, Scott?
the big thing about time zone differences is, it's a choice. right? You chose to be in Vietnam. I chose to be in South Africa.
Yes.
I have
Yeah.
clients that I have the same time every Tuesday we meet. And I decided, which was a major reason why in the beginning I stayed in the Americas and Europe and Africa, and I haven't really gone over to Southeast Asia too much, is because I wanted, I didn't want to have the meetings at 3 in the morning, which is the time it would be in Vietnam. So, but
Nothing wrong with that.
you know, on the other hand, these are choices that you make. And if once a week
That's
I
right.
have to go to bed at 9 p.m. and I have my alarm set for 2 a.m., I get up at 2 a.m., make sure I'm presentable and prepare, and then at 3 o'clock I have my meeting, and then at 4:15 I'm back asleep. And the first trip that Sue and I went on, I had a terrible time with my sleep. And in fact, for the 2 or 3 days after these 3 a.m. meetings, I was just discombobulated. And it was two
Mm,
weeks and it was really hard on me. And I thought, what I didn't realize is that I was with a bunch of guys that were all excited and they stayed up late, they got up early. And so I was getting absolutely no sleep as opposed to, normal. When I went to Bali
yeah.
to see you, Tuesday would be Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. I 9:30 went to bed, 2 o'clock got up,
Yeah.
4:15 went to sleep, and I was like, oh, no problem. And I did it the following
Yeah.
week in the Philippines, no problem. So
Yeah.
you really have to just sort of prepare yourself on what do you need to do in order to continue to serve your clients, serve your customers, and look after them. And then know that, okay, that's a little inconvenient, but
Yeah.
it's worth it to be in Bali with Sua for a week or 2 weeks, right?
Oh,
And
definitely. Yeah. And when I visit Africa, when you're there in the near future, I can do even better, right?
yeah, you won't have to be up quite so late if you don't want to be. We had a
That's
comment
right.
from Nicole, and I just wanted to share that, which was it was talking about the costs of G5, 5G.
Yeah.
That's an
Yeah.
incredible phone plan. I thought $60 a month for Canada, US, Mexico,
Oh, it's
Caribbean was good.
crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah. And it's similar in most of Asia. Like in Bali, it's very similar. You get 5G phone for inexpensive, like $7, $8, $10 a month, right?
yeah,
And I'll share what Scott said. It is a matter of choice. Before, when I was back in Canada, I had to work as an as a night owl. I had to work as an early bird. It was actually more difficult for me all those years, right? That's why I become unhappy because that's not my natural clock. And when I do
right.
travel, and you're right, back and forth between Canada visiting as well as other countries have 1 or 2 different hour time zone difference. Melatonin works great, right? I just use melatonin for a day or two and resets my clock towards that time zone, and you're good to go for the rest of the time you're there,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, the other
Yeah,
thing too is having that good attitude, right? Like if you're going to sleep going, "Oh my goodness, I got to get up at 3," or, or I got to I got to stay up until 3, like whichever way it is versus, you know what? I made a choice. This is my life
yeah,
and look at all the wonderful things I get to do. And
yeah,
in every life a little rain must fall, right?
yeah.
As the song goes. I want to talk a
So,
little bit about the language barriers, and I think it's probably harder in Southeast Asia than it was in Central and South America for me, where it was everyone speaks Spanish. When I started my travels, I knew 3 words of Spanish, which is basically hola,
hello.
sí, and gracias. Like hi, hello, hi, hello, yes, and thank you. I didn't even know what no was in Spanish. I had to ask a friend of mine, and he looked at me like I was a total idiot because in Spanish, no is no. But I didn't know that's not no is not no in French. So but in the
Um,
beginning, I had zero desire to learn any languages. And I think part of that
mm,
is being in a bilingual country where I was forced to learn French in high school, hated it, and then lived in a part of the country that no one spoke French. So I, lost a lot of it. But
yeah,
as I
yeah.
traveled more and more, I got really excited about learning Spanish. And I've been I'm not great, but I say I'm like a grade 2 level Spanish speaker now. But every once in
Mm,
a while, I'm talking with
that's
some of
good.
my Spanish friends who have known me for 6 or 7 or 8 years, and they'll stop and they'll look. You're understanding me they say it in Spanish, and I understand, because the words are part of it, but also the body language, the intonations, when you get all of those together. And so, Spanish is something that I'm learning, and I look forward to learning Portuguese would be probably the
Yeah,
next one.
cool, cool.
But yeah, I just
Yeah,
wanted to
like the same thing for
emphasize the
me.
change in
Same for me.
attitude.
I learned Bahasa Indonesia just in the last couple of years. I'm starting to
Yeah.
catch on, right?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I have a friend who was doing construction in Playa del Carmen, knew no Spanish, and his crew was all only Spanish speaking. He's very good now 3 years later at Spanish, and he says, I learned Spanish from my crew, so I know all the dirty words in Spanish.
Oh, jeez.
So,
Oh
but
boy.
language barriers are they're not, again, it depends on your attitude, right? Like I used in the
Yeah.
beginning, I used Google Translate, and what I told people was, I want you to correct my Spanish. So I would put it in English, I would see it in Spanish, I would say it in Spanish, they would say it in Spanish, I would repeat it. And so
Mm,
I can now read a Spanish sentence perfectly. However, my ear listening to someone speak in Spanish is
mm.
still, a little bit iffy. And of course, the
Yeah,
last
yeah.
3 months
Same
I've
here.
been in
Yeah,
Africa where I'm not speaking any Spanish at all, so I'm
yeah.
going a little bit behind. But there's lots of ways that you can overcome the language barriers, and I see some cool apps where they've got this earbud, and the little
Yeah,
thing, guy speaks
they have that.
Vietnamese, you hear English, and then you speak English, they hear Vietnamese. It's cheating a
It's
little
quite
bit because
cool.
I think there's a lot of wonderful things that come from knowing the language and the nuances and that sort of thing. And
Yeah.
also, nobody's perfect in terms of translation, or at least Google isn't.
Mhm.
So I've
Yep.
had occasions where I've had arguments with people, and
Oh,
I,
yeah. Google doesn't do it in translate the most respective manner, respective way.
yeah,
It's
they're like, I said,
I
wait,
had
wait, you have to
issues with
understand, you didn't understand.
that.
Google didn't translate it very well. That's not what I
That's
meant.
right.
I don't know
That's
what
right.
you're mad
Yeah,
about, but that's not what I meant.
yeah, yeah. But thank God, ChatGPT actually does a way better job now. Same thing with Gemini and Grok. They can translate more respectfully using proper verbiage and terminology. Um,
Nice.
and when I travel, when I see like especially in countries that they write in writings that are non-English, the camera on those
Yeah, the
on the
camera
Google
is
Translate,
amazing. Yeah.
it can translate the camera. So I was like, I was so happy when I saw
Magic.
that. I said, all right,
It's
so that's a
so magic.
bonus. Yeah,
All right.
but
So
don't
what
worry,
about
guys.
losing
Yeah, I think
losing
don't worry.
control?
Like I think Scott can tell you, like a lot of the countries that we've been to, a lot of the Gen Z now, they speaking good English, like conversational English. I'm seeing more and more, even all around, especially around the tourist area, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So fear of losing control over your business. So
That's where Scott can come in to help when you guys really need it. But for me, it's just a matter of using technology that we have available to us, guys. There is like in the mortgage broker world, there's FlowFi and there's Trello that we can use, other than entire Teams or Excel spreadsheet for the whole entire team, right? But FlowFi it's a process for the mortgage brokers. It helps communicate with the clients. It can do follow up on it does automatic reminder, and it also has the ability to like send out SMS text messages to everybody, like your realtor to the client, follow up, etc. It updates everybody, so it's a great, wonderful program you can use. And yes, there is a fee. You can check it out. They have specific for mortgage broker, but I think you can do for any kind of real estate related business. And Trello is just another one where it's a process, and so that you can keep track of. It's basically a daily tracker of what's going on, right? I use both. The other thing is if you do CRM and you have monthly newsletter, either use Calendly or Schedule Once to block things in, to schedule people's appointment. I have on my Calendly, if you go to my calendar, like calendly.com/Witsua, it only allows you to book, yeah, right there. It only allows you to book the time that I'm available. And it's really weird. It's either early morning or later after 6 p.m. So during the day, between 12 and 5 or 6, that's my sleep time. So and usually the banking industry, we don't do much business between 1 o'clock after come back from lunch until like 4 o'clock, and everybody goes home, right? So there's no point. And I interact with my clients after 6 p.m. so that it works out perfectly. Everybody knows how to use Zoom and Google Meet, right? And if you use I use WhatsApp, but some people like use Telegram, we can use that as well. I have a whole bunch of communication apps online for communicating with the client. But there's a software internet phone. We can talk about a little bit later on in one of the other slides how to keep in touch with your local clients, and they can use a local number to reach out to you. Uh, how about
Yeah.
for you, Scott? What do you have to say about
Well,
this?
control over your business to me is communication. And so you need to communicate with your staff and you need to communicate with your clients. And there's usually, we tell them, how do you want to communicate? Do you want email? Do you want text? Do you want calls? Do you want Zoom? And we meet them where they want to be met. Like some of them have never heard of WhatsApp. Some of them would never be able to figure out Google Meet. However, if I send them a Zoom link, then fine.
Yep.
And we're doing this on StreamYard, so I tend to use a StreamYard link, which most of the time is not a problem for most of the people. And then Calendly is great. Google Calendar is the other thing. So I have 2 executive assistants that have access to my calendar. And when I'm talking to one of my video editors and I want to change direction, so as opposed to a simple explanation, I want to get into something in a little bit of depth and complexity. I don't want to do that as a text. I want to talk to him and get the feedback right away and show him on a screen share. So I just say to him, contact Sharub or Bev and find a spot to meet me on Monday. And I know this particular Monday is pretty free, so it's going to be when it's convenient for him, which is great. And they all know not to book me at 5 in the morning, my time. They were doing that for a while, and I was like, look at what time this is where I am. So they're starting to learn what all the time zones are and that sort of thing. And really, between Google Calendar and however the client wants to communicate, those are the 2 big things. Because on Google Calendar, if I haven't talked to him in a little while, I just put a note, make an event, and say, okay, on Wednesday I'm going to call Sua or message him and see how he's doing. And that's kind of, and the calendar actually becomes my to-do list. I also have, I'm old-fashioned.
Pretty much.
I have a paper book and I write everything down. It helps my brain to reinforce what I need to do. And if I don't write it down, I sometimes forget because I'll look at my calendar, but I don't look at it 100% of the time. So between Google Calendar, how you communicate, and having a list of to-dos, it works well. Now that's my business. Yours is probably, yours being whoever is listening to this can be far more complex. Like I wouldn't advise it if, I used to be a grocery store manager. Well, this isn't going to work for that, but so, but working with a small group of 20 people on my team, it works out pretty good.
Yeah, with my brother, he used Slack for his team, and all his staff are on Slack. And I don't like Slack, but it works for some people. Whatever works for you, you can keep that. Just find a way to be able to link it online and everybody have share access. That's as simple as it, right?
And in terms of controlling your business, like you should pick, like we use Trello. Okay, I don't use Trello. My team uses Trello. I just ask my team to explain something to me and they look on Trello. So whatever you use, then try to get your clients to use the same thing if possible. Like the clients are going to have some things that they use, but there's always going to be a way that you can kind of work with them on certain things. And if they don't care particularly and you like Trello or you like Excel or you like Slack, because the more variety of programs you use, the more confused it is. I have a friend who messages me on Facebook Messenger, then he sends me a Telegram message, then he sends me an Instagram message, then he sends me a WhatsApp message. And these are all random throughout the week, right? And then I'm trying to, like, I read it. If I don't answer right away, I think, oh yeah, I got to answer that. What did he say again? And I spend forever trying to find the message. So finally I said to him, pick one and we're going to stick with that. I'm not going to talk to you on any other platform because it's too
Yes.
confusing. So you need
Yep.
to keep
Yep.
everything simple, and
Yep.
our world tries to make everything complex.
I know. Plug it in. Plug in my laptop.
So let's talk about taxes and residencies.
That's a scary thing, especially when you're in a foreign country. You don't want to get kicked out. You don't want to get blacklisted because it's sad to be not be allowed back in Thailand or Vietnam or Bali, right? And
Mhm.
same thing with I'm sure with Scott. Sad to be not allowed to go back to South Africa, right? It'd be tragic.
Yeah.
For places, some have 90 days, some have 6 months, some have 1 year. They can let you
Some
stay there
have
on a
30
visa,
days.
right? Yeah, yeah. For Vietnam, 90 days, right?
For Egypt,
But
it's
here's the
30
thing.
days.
Yeah, here's the thing though. You can do a visa run, which is not technically running, but technically, you go on a bus or you go on a flight, to go out and come back, or on a ferry for that matter. Depends on which country you are. If you're in Indonesia, I take a ferry to Singapore and come back the next hour or two because you rest stamp in and stamp out to come back to the country, and you get a visa on arrival, right? That will be good for valid for whatever it is, 30, 60, 90 days, right? Some people do it for many times, and might not allow you back again. Like Thailand has been pretty hard on it recently. I hear about
Yeah.
it, but Vietnam, the people do visa around to Cambodia and Laos. They go on a bus, about 5 hours, 2.5 hours there, 2.5 hours back, and it costs them like $50, $60. Then they get to stay for another whatever 60, 90 days again. Right. So some of them stay here for years. They do that as a maybe a get out of town trip, like a road trip, in other words, right? It's not so bad if you enjoy doing it. It's not for everybody though. However, there is other paths for us. Like for investors, you can stay much longer if you have an investor visa, and I'll touch base on that later at the end. There, the taxes when you have the way that I do this
Okay.
is this. Maybe you can do it differently. I don't know, Scott. You can share your insight, but
Before
any
we get
money
into
that
the
I get,
taxes, just let me make a
yeah, any
comment on the visa runs, because my experience with it has been in Colombia, and
mm,
and everywhere it's a little bit different. So I'm not going to get into what it's like in Colombia, but what's important is that you spend the time to figure out what it's like where you are. To me, the number one resource is a local Facebook group. So if you're staying in Singapore, look for a Facebook
yeah,
group that's expats in Singapore. I'm in South Africa. I actually am part of a WhatsApp group that my host here introduced me to, so haven't bothered with Facebook. But when I'm in Colombia, there's a Facebook group for Medellin. There's a bunch of them, and the beauty of these groups are twofold. One is you can kind of lurk and see what's going on and what the feel is like, right? Like, are people worried about stuff, not worried about stuff, that sort of thing. And then you can ask questions, right? Like, first see if
yep.
somebody else asked the question before you, but then it's like, what?
You can search those questions actually,
And you
right?
can search those
So
questions too. So what is a visa run like in Cambodia? Oh, it's easy, right? What is it like in Colombia? Oh, you can't just go across the border and come back because blah, 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 sort of things. And is there extensions that you can get? How hard is it to get a student visa, enroll in the class in an accredited school to learn Spanish for 2 years, that sort of, there's all sorts of
yep,
different ways to stay, which comes back to what do you want, right? Are
yep,
you going to be like me? I spend 2 months in South Africa, and then I spend 3 weeks in Kenya, and then I spend 4 weeks in Spain, and then I spend 4 weeks in Mexico, and then I spend 3 weeks in Colombia. Then I'm home for 6 weeks. Well, most of those places, I don't have a problem. I just enter as a tourist and it's no big deal. If you're staying somewhere like SUA is, and you're building a building, then you got to really pay attention to, well, what do I need to do to make sure, like the worst thing for SUA would be if the government of Vietnam says, no, 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 you're not coming back in here. And why? Well,
Yeah.
you broke regulation 3204A. Ah, right. So you can there, but there's such good resources, and these people are generally very, very giving, right? Because they've gone through
Yep.
it. They know what it's like when you're just landing somewhere and you're trying to find your way around. And oftentimes they will have get-togethers where you can just all get together and meet in person at a coffee shop or something. So for me, when it comes to like the taxes and the residency, that's the number one thing I do when I go someplace is I find out if there's an expat group, usually expats or just the name of the city you're in,
Yep.
Facebook,
Or
and
the
then go to
country,
groups
or
or
in
the
general.
country,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then taxes, oh, everybody wants money.
I'm glad with Canadians we don't have the double tax treaty that Americans have, global tax treatment.
Right. Yet.
When I make money, when I make money, if the money is inside Canada, it's getting paid direct to my bank account in Canada, I declare that as income tax. But since I'm teaching online, I'm doing remote work. If the money is getting paid into my account overseas, I'm not bringing back to Canada. So there is no reason for me to declare that amount of money back in Canada, right? And there is another option as well. Like my brother, who's working in Vietnam for 12 years, he's a non-resident. He has no property, no, well, he's got a bank account, but really pretty much dormant, just sitting there with just using his credit card basically only, right? But he has a non-resident status, so he doesn't have to declare income tax every year. He does not declare income tax every year. It's just zero anyway. So, but he's still Canadian citizenship, right? So he can eventually retire, go back in Canada and retire if he wants to, because he doesn't lose that, right? There is some other issues too. If you were a tax citizen and you are not a non-resident, you have not declared non-resident, there is a 6-month policy. I think it's 180, 181 days, something like that. You have to go back and visit Canada. You can't be outside Canada like my brother does for 12 years, right? So that might have issue with your citizenship. Scott can maybe give more and enlighten more about this if he's
Yeah.
looking to that.
My first thing is neither Sue and I are tax lawyers, nor immigration
Yes.
lawyers, nor
Yeah.
accountants, nor CPAs, nor any other letters that have anything to do with accounting and finance.
We
If
don't.
you want a loan or you want to set up some stuff for commercial buildings and stuff, talk to Sue, don't talk to me. Having
Yeah.
said that, my understanding is that in order to be a non-resident of Canada, you need to declare it. You need to have been out of the country for over 6 months, or the other way, actually, it's probably the other way. If you're in Canada for 6 months and a day, you're considered a resident of Canada for income tax purposes. Um, so the Canadian CRA and, well, we don't have to worry about the American one. It doesn't matter because wherever you are, you have to pay tax to them.
Yeah.
They will do everything they can to prove that you are still a Canadian tax resident. And so my advice is if you have decided that you want to leave and you don't want to go back except for like me for 6 weeks to visit your family at Christmas time or birthdays, then I would move everything out of Canada before I said anything to anybody, because the Canadian government has an exit tax. And basically, if you say, I'm going to become a non-resident of Canada and I'm leaving, I'm going to go to Belize and live in Belize for the rest of my life, they will say, well, what's the value of your house? Oh, $700,000. Okay, your car is $10,000. Everything else, $20,000. How much have you got in stocks? $100,000. Great. We'll add all of that up and you have to give us a check for 35% of that or whatever. Like I just made that number up. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
So
Exit
if you
tax.
have it all outside of Canada, you've sold your house and you sold this and you sold that, and you've
Yeah.
got the best way to move money is your lawyer. Give the money to your lawyer. He puts it in a trust or she puts it in a trust. Have a lawyer wherever it is that you want the money to go. they get it, and then they put it into your bank account. Make sure you get lawyers that you can trust and are honest. But that's because the government wants everything that it can get, and it thinks that most of what you got it deserves. And so you need to keep those things in mind. So that's the world according to Scott. It could be 100% wrong, but you can talk to, I would advise talking to a tax lawyer and or
Yeah.
immigration person and
Yeah.
getting and now also doing a chat GPT. Please search the Canadian government CRA website for information on how to leave. I'm
Yeah.
sure it would give you a good summary, but
It'll tell you. Yeah. It'll
it'll
tell you
tell you.
pretty much straightforward. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And before you leave, have a nice conversation with a lawyer and your accountant for sure. They'll tell you there is other options, not just a straight non-resident. There are other options. So
Yeah.
speak with them. Like Scott, just had a disclaimer there, right? We're not tax lawyer, we're not accountant. So all the information we have is just based on our personal experience. This is not advice. We give no advice from this. We're just sharing what we learned and what we've been doing. That's it,
Right.
right? You take it you take it as however you want it. Um,
Healthcare.
the
This
other
is
the
actually
big
the funniest one.
This is the scariest one for many people because I see a lot of people here, like go on vacation and go for 3, 6, 9 months, go to Bali and they have huge accidents and they're in the hospital for 20, 30, $60,000. They don't have. And guys, GoFundMe doesn't always work, right? I see this often. They're not insured properly. Is one thing. There is a lot of insurance. There's snowbird insurance. There's BCA insurance. There is uh, every country you go check the expat community. They have insurance providers for that specific,
Or
and
they know
it's
who
not
they're using, and you
expensive.
can ask them.
Yeah, right. You buy for the 6 months you're there for $100, $200, well worth it, right? Worst case, they ship you on a flight back home, and then you don't have to worry about those huge medical care. Right?
Unless
But
you're a
anyway,
non-resident, because if you're a non-resident and you go back to Canada, most provinces are going to say you got to wait 3 months before you are allowed to have
oh,
access to our free healthcare, and they'll probably give it to you anyway. And particularly if you don't tell them you've been away for
mm,
6 months. But the part about being a non-resident is you hand back your driver's license, you hand back your health thing, and you give up all of that stuff, right? So it's funny how you went to the money part of healthcare, and I go to how good is the healthcare, and right. So I mean, it's like and the other part too is I'm almost 69, so I make sure that I don't do anything dumb that's going to cause me to dislocate a shoulder, break a back, or get a concussion.
yeah, yeah.
And so if you're young and in your
Don't
20s,
don't basically what Scott's saying. Don't do what Sue does. Drive really fast on a scooter in the middle of the night and get your horn tied left, right arm, and
right?
right leg, skin
Yeah.
grafted.
See, Sue, I believe I'm going to live to at least 105. And when I'm 104, I don't want to be crippled in a wheelchair. So this is
Yeah,
what do I do to make sure everything lasts and I don't break stuff that's going to be a big problem in another 20 or 30 years? So,
you're a smart
having
man.
said that, I was bitten by a black widow spider in Panama,
Oh,
and
jeez.
on my back, the size of a hamburger patty, was a huge infection, which they eventually had to cut
Wow.
out, and they can't sew it up. So I had this big open infection for about a month on my back, which healed very quickly. It's more like a hot dog than a hamburger, but it was that deep and that
Wow.
long. And it healed up very, very quickly. And I had it was actually, yeah, like the medical system was amazing. They were professional, they were clean, did everything right. And then they put me under and they cut me up, which was freaky. That had never happened really before. And so I think in a lot of places you have medical tourism. Medellin in
Yes.
Colombia, Mexico, the
Yeah.
Philippines. I had a
Yeah.
friend who wanted to get a facelift. He wanted to get a facelift. He's in his late 70s, And he said, you know, I could go to the Philippines and have a 2-week vacation after my facelift on a beach somewhere in a 5-star resort and come home with $2,000 in my pocket compared to if I had it done in Canada. And the people are all trained in the United States. Usually the equipment
Yep.
is all the same thing they
Yep.
use in the United States. So, you know, the healthcare is excellent, and there's no waits. Like in Canada, all you hear about is, oh, the same friend needs a knee surgery, and when he found out, he was fully expecting to have to wait, 2 years for one knee and another 2 years for the another knee. And as far as I know, that's still the case with him. But we have these long waits. You have things happening that don't seem to be very well. You go to emergency in Vancouver at Vancouver General Hospital on a Friday night, they're lined up down the block, right? And
Yeah.
particularly a full moon. So in these places outside of Canada, it's kind of like you walk in, they sit down, they take your information, they say wait a second, and then they say come in, and then they do whatever they need to do, and then they say see you later, here's a bill for $50 or $100. It's
Yeah,
insane.
I'll tell you about my emergency incident when I was driving on that scooter at that night. I wiped out completely my whole entire arm, missing all the skin, layer of skin. Same with my right leg from the knee down. I was scraped right on the road, and I got into the hospital, private hospital, right? Emergency immediately. Within 5 minutes, I have two nurses and a doctor doing picking all the stuff out of of course they give me some kind of desensitize, so that I don't feel the pain. So a painkiller,
Anesthesia.
I guess, right? Yeah. So but it still looked really awkward. Really, it was blood, right? Lots of blood. And I'm not very squeamish when it comes to my own blood. Um Here's the thing, like what Scott said, you get immediate attention. Not wait until the blood is dried up, caked. It's caked because I hear people like my mom and my brother and sister that have incidents where they're in emergency room. They're waiting for hours, 5 6 hours. It's like this is crazy, right? For us, for my medication and everything. And a week later, maybe more than a week later, but 10 days later, came back and they cut off the stitches and stuff, right? Cost me less than $112. $112 with emergency on me. Like they took care of it right away. So I didn't I to me it doesn't seem like a lot of money. And I would rather have that than wait 5 6 hours and get free medical. Like that's not free. That's pain and suffering for 5 to 6 hours. I'll gladly give my $100. All right. $112, including antibiotic.
That's pretty awesome.
If the other option, right?
All right, so let's move on to the next one. Fear of scaling your business. Oh, wow.
Yeah, this is where I got help from you guys, right, in the Philippines, because the virtual assistant helped me do a lot of things. The trouble with us when we're traveling, or I am out in the out looking at the waterfalls, I need to know that somebody's looking at my email or somebody's checking my calls if I'm not there, like for the 5 6 hours that I'm in flight, right? So how do you take care of the business? Because when your business is growing, somebody's got to be able to manage when you're not available, right?
That's
And I
right.
think especially you learn to delegate. I know I have a licensed part-time assistant for a while there, and that's how I did it. But besides that, if you're on your own, you need somebody to take over a lot of your things when you're incommunicado, all right, out of communication range. I think
Well,
Scott can help with that.
thank you. Like we have a boutique virtual assistant company with about 22 remote staff and about 25 clients. And it's small because we want to grow it right. We care about the staff, we care about our clients, and we want to make sure that everyone's doing the right thing and everything is working out the way that it should be. And it's fairly, it's only 4 or 5 years old, so we're still working on systems. But
Yeah.
when you have a business, you have systems, and then I think what a lot of people don't realize is, you should be looking at your business as something that you could sell. Not that you necessarily have to or even want to, but if it's in a scenario where you could sell it, that means you don't be there and it still works. So that's really what you want to do. And that comes from systems. We
Yep.
systemize everything so that there's a standard operating procedure for this job and that task and this project. So if someone leaves, you have kind of the playbook on what to do, and you really need to
Yep.
look at you know what are your goals, and then, like I said before, I managed a grocery store. Well, I never cut the meat, I never put out the pears, I didn't bag the groceries, I didn't slice the corned beef, I didn't fill the prescriptions, I didn't go collect the carts out of the parking lot, I didn't fill the shelves, right? I just made sure everything happened. And that's what your job should be as the owner, manager, numero uno of your business. You should be like the conductor. You're making sure that the flute's playing on time and the violins are tuned, and then everything runs. And I'll tell you, one thing that's really cool is telling your executive assistant you want something done, and then going to bed, and then in the morning when you wake up, there's an email with whatever that was done. That is a really, really good feeling.
Yeah. It takes a while for entrepreneurs to I would say to let go, to delegate. That's my biggest challenge when I first had at the beginning with my virtual assistant. But with that, it actually frees up a lot of time because I look at it. If your work can be paid, I mean, the work that you're doing, you can pay somebody else 5, 10, $15 an hour. Get somebody else
Yeah.
to do it, even $20 an hour, because your job should be $250 per hour. That's what you should be working on, right? And with having somebody else to take over those administrative work, I call it client follow-ups or checking all my files in compliance, making sure everything's, put all the PDF file together, making sure I didn't miss anything. That stuff is just like a low-paying job. Pay a virtual assistant to do it. You don't want to waste an hour doing that, right? Do something more productive. Meet somebody, speak with your client, follow up with them, right?
It's almost
Or
cliche to
recording.
say work on your business, not in your business.
Yeah. And what Scott mentioned, like, SOP, standard operating procedure, I've been doing that for ages. And I did it because at the beginning I had to train people. And Loom is great for that. And it's also great for your client. If you have something and you're doing your work and your hours are way off, or like ours is, you do recording as if you're talking to the client. It's like going through a Zoom meeting by yourself. Basically, it. Loom is free, right? You can do a quick recording, go through the documents. This is what you need to sign. This, and it follows your arrow and follows your cursor key, right? So that the client knows exactly what you're talking about on the documents that you're referring to. Mm.
Yeah, I would say fear of scaling your business comes under fear of success. And how am
Yeah.
I going to handle it, and that sort of thing. And we had a client who was they had a hard money lending business, so they had a fund, and there was $18 million in the fund. And and what he would do is he would constantly check his Gmail because there could be an important email from a potential investor, and he didn't want to miss it. Well, there was never an email or rarely an email from an important investor, but there was always an email from Amazon. So he would click on that. He'd go, "Oh, this looks good," and then he'd spend 3 hours and $500 on Amazon. His sister was his partner in the business. She's mad because he's not productive. His wife was mad because he was spending money that he shouldn't have been spending. And so we had an executive assistant who would work with him. There's always a learning curve, but she would be able to identify important and unimportant emails. And if it was important, she would text him, "Please check this email from Sua." And he would check it and go, "Thank you very much. That was important." Then she'd say, "Please check this email from Scott." He would check and say that wasn't important. So she learned the difference. And his business fund grew from 18 million to about 27 million in 18 months, because instead of wasting all that time, he was actually working, and the business grows when you work the business.
Yep.
So that's to me, that's my favorite story about the importance of having an executive assistant.
To me, it's just the grief of doing my compliance document. I hated it.
Yeah,
Honestly, because
that's
it's
yeah.
anybody could do that, right? Why
That's
does it
the
have to
other
be
thing
you?
that's the other thing that we tell people is make a list of all the things that you hate doing or dislike doing or feel like you should not be doing, and let's get
Yep.
those off. Because if you can get all the negative things off your plate, even if you shouldn't be doing something but you like doing it a lot, then we'll deal with that later.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoy being the onboarding and discussing at the end, closing the client on the on the approval of the loan rather than stuff in between, in other words, right? Follow up with the lender, what else is missing, et cetera, et cetera. It's just time consuming, right?
Yep.
A better
Speaking of
use
time
do something else.
consuming, eating is time consuming, and there are lifestyle changes that occur when you're uh, outside North America. I'll put it that way. Like the food is
Oh,
better, the food is healthier,
so
you're
much nicer.
more active because it's
Yeah.
always spring or summer.
And what's really, really, I mean, this might be off topic a little bit, but here's the thing. I like some food that are made by some restaurant somewhere else, like further away on the other side of, say, the city, right? But unlike, uh, is it Grab Food back, Uber Food back in Canada, which charge an arm and leg here? I had it delivered today. For example, I had five for my friends and family, five of the noodle today that I love, and I got it brought in all the way to me here. Right, cost $11.70 for five of them. In
Wow.
Vancouver, it would have cost $20 for one, the same one. It's
Yeah.
incredibly inexpensive, and they delivered it right to my coffee shop that I'm sitting at drinking coffee. I wasn't even at home, right? So they don't need to deliver Grab food or Uber food to your home. They deliver to wherever you are. It could be in the corner of the street. It's quite amazing in Asia, right? So the
Yeah.
lifestyle, it could work around food and lifestyle. It can accommodate you. There is other stuff that I think that the challenge with this is accessing your funds, accessing your money. And I always recommend everybody to use Wise or another something similar if they have a no fee card to use to withdraw money from outside of Canada, because the currency exchange sometimes sucks, and sometimes you may get dinged if you use an ATM card from Canada at a foreign bank, and they hurt. Like it adds up quickly, right? If you use a card like Wise, for example, you get a couple times a month for free. So I would withdraw like 100, $200, and that's basically my spending money outside, my cash money outside for the whole month. All right, how to use that up, and it's free for to withdraw at a certain ATM. Uh, Food wise, guys, there's so much selection. I am certain if you go to any of the country that have Scott has been to, you can find your favorite food. I have like in Vietnam, for example, right? There's more halal food here. There's more vegan food here than in Canada. I guarantee you, there's more here than in Vancouver. The selection is just incredibly vast. There's so many restaurants, right? 100 million people inside the the landmass about 20% the size of British Columbia. So there's a lot of choices here, right?
Yeah, I would put
Uh,
it to you this way. And the way I would put it is you can go to a mall and to look at the restaurants in the mall and look at the food court. And if you did not know what city you were in, you would never know what city you were in because they're all the same. You go to a mall in Las Vegas, you go to a mall in Charlotte, North Carolina, you go to Boston, there's and we know them all. I could list them all off, and you would say, yeah, 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 that's all there. And when you go to Medellin, Colombia, when you go to Cape Town, when you go to Vietnam or Bali, you're seeing food created by, cooked by that person or that family almost, right?
Yep.
Whether it's street food or their little restaurants, you just see like, wow, like this is stuff that's put together by people that really, really care. It's not a
Oh,
corporate.
yeah, yeah, they love
Yes,
cooking. Yeah,
yeah, they love cooking, and you
yeah,
can taste the love. And to me, that is one of the major differences.
yeah,
Rob just joined us. Hey,
definitely.
Rob, glad to have you. Get as many overseas bank accounts as you can. That's
Yeah, I
very
can touch
wise.
about that. Yeah. I have bank accounts in every country, in Bali and in Vietnam. And yeah, as long as you got a temporary resident permit, you can get a bank account here. I think
Yeah.
even some long-term visa they will allow you to as well now.
Mhm.
So it depends on which country. Got to be careful. Thailand's kind of
Yeah.
closed down a lot of the easy access bank account, but there's still ways to get those.
Right.
And there's countries too, like Singapore, for example, and Hong Kong. You can get HSBC account there for Canadians and American, for example. It's not hard.
Yeah. And I think one of the big things that happens,
What else?
mainly because most
Internet.
of the
Oh my
places
God.
that we're talking about are summer places, like it's hot, it's warm, it's mild. Medellin, Colombia is the city of eternal spring, and it's called that for a very good reason. And so you're more
Same with
active,
Dalat.
you're
Similar.
more active. Yeah. You get
Yeah.
out, you go do stuff. There's lots of
Yeah.
salsa dancing in South America. So I've noticed since COVID, there's a lot more people that are a little overweight in Colombia compared to before. But really, you need to get out and get exercise, and it's a big part
That's
of it.
correct, Rob. Yeah,
Yeah.
pickleball is the
Thailand,
fastest growing sports in Vietnam. It is. It's crazy. Everywhere you go, there's pickleball gym.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
also mentioned that Thailand semi-easy to get bank accounts if you have an education visa, and
Yep.
then Vietnam.
Yep.
What the question I would have is, if you, like Rob, if you went to Thailand, you got the bank account because you had an education visa, and then you left for a couple of years, would you automatically lose the bank account or keep it? And hopefully you're able to keep it, because that would be a good
I
thing to collect.
Yeah, I think for Vietnam it's similar. If it becomes dormant, they will close it like within 6 months or a year like that. But if you keep transferring money in every now and then, it keeps it active.
Right. And
Vietnam is
actually,
not too hard, Rob. There is only like two bank that really allows you to open up when you're on a tourist visa. The majority of the bank, yes, they don't let you, but there is some banks that will. Yeah.
okay, so let's talk a bit about building wealth without borders and
Yeah.
have other challenges.
There
I have a
there
challenge
is
right now, so I have to let the dog out, so I'm going to mute myself and I'll be back in 10 seconds.
yeah, I mean, other than the visa run, there is not much a big complication. There is no tax rules, tax laws in Canada no, versus Vietnam or Bali, for example, that you have to declare money that you make. So if you make money, for example, Cambodia or Thailand or Bali, it doesn't matter, right? Um, if you work inside the country and you are getting clients, customers inside the country, that's actually illegal. So don't do it, guys. Whatever you do, I do not. What I would do is this, okay? I would hire, I would open a business and hire a local person to be that person who does the work, right? You're allowed to hire people, you're allowed to own a business and generate income for the business, but you cannot actively work. That's the difference, right? There is there is a that's a great area. So they don't mind you hiring people and they work, they be the front man and all. Don't mind you investing money. Like that's why we're investing in Dalac and set up a resort and the business there, right? We've got 5 different businesses running there. And this is the reason why we can do it legitimately. Um, there are other countries, like for example, people have been looking in Bali. Just because there's no policing doesn't mean they're not watching. They are watching, guys. They have been catching people working in Bali, earning money from the local people, and they've been deporting them and blacklisting them. So don't mess around, right? Just do it legitimately. If you work online, like Upwork, Fiverr, for example, or you have customers outside of that country. So, for example, if I have customers in Bali, I'm in Vietnam, I'm okay. And if I'm in Bali, I have customers in Vietnam or I have customers in Canada, I'm okay. They don't care about that. just do not work in that country, have customers in that country when you're there physically. It's a no-go. All right. Doesn't matter
And
what kind of visa you have. The only way you can get a work allowed to work there is a work permit. And that's much harder to get than you think it is. All right.
I want to give you a secret about the United States. They think that if you have, let's say you're a video editor and all your
Mm,
clients are in Canada and you want to go to the United States for a month and you have 4 videos that you need to edit, they consider that work. So you
careful.
you have to be really, really careful. Like, just no, I'm just coming for a holiday. I mean, that's, or you say I'm coming on a business, and then they're going to ask you a
Yep.
whole bunch of questions. And if you're working, right, like actually doing some work on your computer, and you don't
Yep.
have a work visa, green card, you're in
Yep.
trouble. So you have to
Yep.
be careful about all that stuff. It's important that you know the rules well enough, or well enough to just, keep your head down, I guess.
Yeah. So that's a subtle thing with the USA than compared to Southeast Asia country. Right?
Yeah. Is this legal
Oh,
and sustainable?
it is. Just don't earn income in that country from their people. Oh, another gray area. People have been doing this in Bali. Oh, I only charge people that are visitors to Bali, not local people. I say that's still a no-no,
Right.
right? So be very careful. It doesn't matter. You can argue all you want. The minute they said, okay, is your customer in Bali right now? Yes. But my customer is Russian. He's from Russia. It doesn't matter. Right? If that customer is in Moscow and you're in Bali, that's okay. But the minute that customer comes from Moscow to Bali and you're working with them, that's not allowed. Right? Similar to the stance that Americans look at it, right? Just be
However,
very careful, guys.
however, if you're a mortgage broker in Canada following Sua's coaching and training, you
You're
never have
fine.
to worry because your clients
Yeah.
are all going to be in Canada and you'll be in Bali sipping coconut water.
Yeah, you're fine. I mean,
You're
mortgage
fine.
broker has been so amazing. Daniel came here in a few months ago, and now he's coming back. He's pretty much he's a mortgage broker from Toronto, and he's coming back here. He's gonna do what I'm doing, right? Basically, working, financing, doing mortgages. Yes, the time zone works for him too, because that's the same thing that he's experienced, right? He can stay up early, get up early, stay into late night working, and the lenders work those hours. So it's great, and you have 6+ hours during the day. Do whatever you want, daylight hours. All right,
Right. I guess
can't get
that's
much
one
better
of
than
the
that.
big differences. When you work 9 to 5 in Canada, then for half the year, it's dark when you get up and it's dark when you go to sleep. So
Yep.
wouldn't it be better to work 5 to 9 and enjoy those daylight hours?
Yeah, man. It's just amazing. But here's the catch. So this is the catch for mortgage broker and anybody working in an industry that's highly security with compliance. Also, if you're doing day trading, you better have VPN. Like my brother has has issue at the beginning too, until we got VPN access for him, right? And that's the only way you can be able to get it to working. There's no way around it. It just follow what we do, guys. I mean, it's working with VPN and Connect. Also, it is also secure. You don't want to be going to regulatory body on an interview one day, right? And they're asking how you operate your business in Vietnam, how you operate your business in Thailand or Bali, and how you're using it. You tell them you're using a VPN, like NordVPN, for example, and you have a server in Canada. You use the server in Canada to access your bank information, like Filogic, for example. Then that's fine. But if you don't do that, man, they're gonna reprimand you, and you might lose your license. Just be very very careful. Regulatory bodies don't play around, all right? And we do that when we access any banking system or any system that we feel that it might open up the privacy of our client, database. If I'm at a public place and like that, I use VPN. If I need to quickly send email, I just use VPN. If I'm in a public area, just not worth it. Right? Better safe than sorry.
You don't go to Starbucks and just open up your mail and
Yeah,
do
you
your stuff.
forget? No. Turn on VPN first. So that's the standard operating procedure. All right. Just
Awesome.
make a slight adjustment to what you need to your work.
So what other changes do you need to make? Well, I think we've killed the VPN. We've stomped that one.
Yep. Work hour is for the biggest thing, and adopting a nap time. It's time zone sucks if you don't have naps. I can guarantee you, you're gonna hate it, and you won't last long. I'm sure Scott can tell you about that.
Yeah, it's harsh.
That's harsh.
You have to
So
understand how your body works and what the best times are for yourself, right?
yeah, there's only so many long days you can pull before you say, I'm fed up. I'm going back to Canada. Right?
Particularly when you're over
I
40, right? Like
Yeah,
if you're
yeah.
20, you can get away with it a lot longer, but chances are you're not a mortgage broker at 20.
Yeah, I still think even if you're in your 30s, Scott, and you're still like up and going, you just gung ho, 5 hours of sleep and then do that for like 2 weeks. No, you're gonna crash hard soon. Like
Yeah.
there's just not enough, right? And it's because it's Pacific Standard Time hour. It's for me, it's like 5 hours of sleep, 6 hours at most, right? And then I catch up on my nap time. You gotta have it, right?
But it's
You
worth
gotta
it to
have
be
it.
able to go sit on a beach,
Hey, so
see a waterfall.
between 11 afternoon to about 5, 6 o'clock, that's my time.
Yeah, perfect.
How do you get that in Canada?
No,
Not
you don't.
possible, right? Yeah.
And
So I
if you're
mean,
serious about your business, you want to delegate and
must.
schedule
Yeah,
things so that
yeah.
you're doing the important things, right? And that's growing your business. And
And
if you're
it's
growing it
cheap, guys.
properly,
Getting a social media manager from Scott is cheap. I mean,
yeah,
inexpensive, not cheap. Okay, inexpensive because
high
your time
high
is worth way
quality,
more than that. Yeah,
low
yeah,
investment.
yeah. And yeah, and you still have control over what gets published, and they can show you all of it. Like here's the whole entire
Yeah,
weeks of content, right? And they can modify, change on the fly. Just record. Like I use Asana for example for the in internal work that they do, and just use a voice recording or just your video recording, tell them exactly what you need to get done, and they do it.
yeah,
You don't need to type a long email or nothing, right?
yeah.
Takes me
I
20
have my
seconds.
staff.
Yeah.
My staff sends me a social post, and if I don't like it, I just throw it in Photoshop because I've used Photoshop for 15 years, and I can't figure out how to do in Canva what I can do in Photoshop, which is basically just draw on the canvas, and I'll just circle the headline and say move it over here, put an arrow, move it over here, make this bigger, make this smaller, and then after. But the cool thing is that they learn, right? So after
Yep.
a few times, I'll also say, do you understand why? Does this look better
Mm.
to you or not? Right? Oh yeah, yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
And every once in a while they fall back on bad habits. I don't know what goes on. But then you just say, yeah, no, this is, and then I use the thumbs up. They post, 3 or 4 pictures every couple of days, and I thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up.
Yeah,
It's
that's it.
one click,
That's all you need.
and that's good. Like you don't have to go, well, that was awesome, right? I mean, every once in a while, I've always, you want to give them praise when they deserve it, and correct them when they deserve it. But yeah,
Well,
it
now
doesn't take
that
a
means
lot
you're
of time.
learning how to work on the business instead of just in the business, right? So
Right.
that's a difference. That's all. Same here.
So why Bali? So
Why Mexico, right? Why
yeah,
Bali? Why Vietnam? Because I love food, guys. I love Asian food. It's spicy. It's got your tongue goes on fire. If you want hot, you go to Thailand. And it's fresh food, fresh seafood. Everything's fresh, right? Literally, you want that chicken? It's cock, 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 they go chop it right in front of you. It's like, I don't go to the market to buy chickens anymore because of this. I send somebody else now. It's like I get to pick who dies. It's not anyway, but it's really fresh, right? Um, the money goes so much further. I mean, I'm saving 80 to 90% of what I make. 80 to 90%, 8 to 9, okay? 80 to 90% of what I generate in income. Why? Come here and I'll show you. I mean, there's so much that I can show you, and Scott can say the same all the time, right? It's so much that you don't have expenses on. I mean, phone, for example, is the biggest one, right? Internet.
Yeah.
I same thing. I pay 50, $60 a month back home to get what? To get like 8 gigabytes per month data. Here I get 7 gig per day and I pay $7.85 a month.
It's crazy.
Hello? That's like 140, what the heck it is. Like, no, so it's 210 gigabytes a month I get. I pay less than $8 for it. And it's 5G. It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say. My coffee, I drink 2 or 3 times a day. It costs me $1.20 for a large iced coffee, like iced mocha frappuccino kind of thing. It's fancy drinks, right? I don't just drink the cheap drink, which is like 50 cents here, right? I drink one so it costs a buck something. But you know what? I buy food for all my friends that come here visit every now and then. It doesn't cost me anything.
Yeah.
Today, like 5 noodles, less than $12. It's insane. Also, my friends around here, we talk nothing about LGBTQ. We talk nothing about the politics. No politics, nothing. It's so refreshing. I'm sure Scott feels the same way. It's like, my God, I don't hear nothing about gripes about, about politics. Uh, Nothing about what's happening with the crime. Zero. We got zero crime here. So I don't know. South Africa, maybe, maybe not. Right? What's it like there? What's Mexico like?
Well, Mexico, first of all, there's two parts to Mexico. One is the tourist areas, and then there's the rest. So you're going to see more expensive stuff in the tourist areas. Once you get out of there, the prices drop dramatically, although you still can get some gringo pricing. The vegetables, the fruit is so much fresher. And awesome. What I like about Mexico in particular is you're in the same general time zone as North America. So if you're
Yeah,
over on Puerto Vallarta, it's the same as Vancouver. If you're over in Cancun, it's the same as Chicago to New York. Of course, it all changes because we have the time change that happens. Everybody is friendly. Mexico, the Mexicans have a strong distrust of government. So there's a lot of independence. There's a lot of we ignore those rules because they're dumb.
oh,
They're
jeez.
corrupt. I mean, there's corruption, but like in Canada, the corruption is at the high bureaucratic level, right? Like
Hmm.
you have large companies that bring over Saudi royalty and spend lots of money on things that they probably shouldn't. And that's the way the corruption is in Canada. Like you never even think of bribing a police officer. In Colombia and Mexico and a lot of these places, the corruption is at a lot lower level, which means
Mm.
that, if you get stopped for speeding, even if you weren't speeding, you know, 10, $20 to the guy solves the problem and he gets to feed his kids that day. I mean, that's the other thing, right? Like,
Yeah,
corruption was bad. Well, yeah, it is. But you know what? There's a family eating that wouldn't be eating, as opposed
yeah,
to in Canada, he gets to buy an extra $3 million house from which, it doesn't help the homeless or anything.
yeah,
And so when things happen in the world, Mexico doesn't usually, I mean, it'll say it's following it, like like the lockdown in with COVID, most places they didn't make any difference at all, right? Like, even though the government said, yeah, you're not allowed out of the
Yeah.
house, everyone got out of
Yeah.
the house and nobody did anything about it. So,
That's right. Yeah.
so and the food is great. Uh, I think that it depends. Individual restaurants can be bad, but generally speaking, the food is really good. There's not Montezuma's Revenge like there was before. The water quality is a lot better. Uh,
Yeah,
you know,
that's the thing with everywhere too. I've noticed like the food poisoning have nearly virtually disappeared from every place I've been to around Southeast Asia, because they actually learned. They've actually understood that we want our food with the plastic gloves when you're working on it, or not with your fingers, right? Your bare hand. I've seen
yeah,
a lot of that, even street food. Right?
yeah. So,
Good when you mentioned
and
that.
Mexico has an easy residency program. You can go in. There's a process. You go in, you get a temporary residency. A couple of years later, you go in and you get a permanent residency, and then I don't know, between 2 and 5 years later, you can actually get citizenship. So it's a very welcoming country that way. And the
Yep.
other thing, I almost forgot this, is the big thing with Mexico, and I think very similar to Southeast Asia, is culture. So they've
Mm,
got museums, art museums, music, live music, on the streets, and history. Like, a lot of these places have buildings that are 3, 4, 500, 600 years old.
yeah.
Magnificent cathedrals. So there's a lot of beauty. They also tend to, and it's a big part of it. I know it happens in the summertime in Canada, but that's only for usually a couple months. But a big part of the culture is going to the main square, which usually has a church on one side of it, surrounded by restaurants and coffee shops and small shops. And so you sit out there, you have your cappuccino, and there's a whole bunch of people talking about a whole bunch of stuff and visiting. And you just kind of have this liveness that we don't get for most of the year because it's too cold to sit outside, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. More, yeah. I think it's more social. I think same thing when I saw when I went to Cuba as well.
Yeah, it's very,
It's
very
they're very
social
lively
people.
people. Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah.
And they're
Wow.
welcoming, right? There's not, you know, they're
Yeah, when I
they've
was in
always
Bali, Kuta Beach, there was a beach area where the locals go. There's barely any tourist area people there because I'm familiar more with Bali. So I go where the locals go, and I'm only one of the few tourists walking around. It's mostly local people sitting all over. They you're just like them. They don't look at you. They don't look at you like funny. No
right.
xenophobic look, kind of thing. They just, yeah, come have a seat,
The
right?
universal language is a smile. You smile at
Yeah,
somebody, they smile back. You wave at them, they wave back.
yeah.
Sometimes that's lost in big Canadian cities.
Yeah, we used to live down a cul-de-sac for over 10 years, and we still don't know our neighbors. It's pretty sad these days, eh? Hear and think about that. But
So I'm house sitting in a place called Welcome Glen. It's about an hour south of Cape Town in South Africa, and I'm looking after 3 dogs. And the reason that I bring this up is I have spoken to both of my neighbors already. I've been here a week and a half, and they're South African. They're white South African, and one of them likes to go hiking. So I invited him to we go to a certain place to run the dogs and give them exercise. He's come up a couple times doing that, and so yeah, it's a it's a smaller community, but it's very safe. You can walk around, and there's areas in like
Vietnam
Johannesburg
here
where
at the place.
you
So Scott, I lost you there for a minute. I thought you should stop. But it's funny you mentioned that even Vietnam in a big city like this here, and living in 300-400 people live in it, but we have a coffee shop downstairs. So whenever people come, we just sit next to it. We just started talking. We're just neighbors, right? We don't have this back home. I think that's one of the missing things, the social aspect of it, right?
this yeah
Here the social aspect is pretty good.
the social aspect with people you do not know, that is really different. Like in
Yeah,
Canada, if you're sitting beside somebody, It's rare that you'll converse with them. Whereas here,
It's
and
common
also
here.
it's common, right? It's like you
Yeah,
hear somebody talking. I mean, and I do it all the time now. It's like I hear somebody
yeah,
talking and I make a comment on whatever they're talking about, you know, a pleasant comment, not offensive. And
yeah,
then you become part of the conversation. It's
yeah,
wonderful.
yeah. I like it. Wait till you guys come here. I mean, Vietnam is, and there's a reason why I chose Vietnam for many reasons, business wise as well as climate wise. Uh, if you guys ever look Vietnam, it's north and south. It's like
Yeah.
runs north and south. So like British Columbia, north and south. It's about 20%. So about one fifth, one fifth the size of British Columbia. There's 100 million people living here. So
Wow.
we're the fastest growing country in all of Asia right now. The second fastest growing, I believe, is Philippines. They're sitting at 5.5, but they're dropping. All right,
Wow.
their economy is stalling. Um, and why I chose Vietnam because I love Vietnamese food. I was born here, right? I lived in Canada for 40 years, but coming back here is just so incredibly amazing. The money goes very far right now. It's quite. You become a millionaire. If you got $100, you're now $1.9 million worth for the $100, right? Um, so coffee is inexpensive. Coffee is like 30,000 dong. We call it dong here. The currency is great too, right? We don't call it buck, we call it dong, right? So I'm sure a lot of guys out there will have a laugh at this one. Um, it's quite affordable in all of Asia, Southeast Asia. I mean, Cambodia and Laos is probably more affordable because they're really underdeveloped, whereas Vietnam isn't. Vietnam's got Apple moving here, Adidas, Nike, Samsung, they're already here. All the big tech firms are here already, right? We have McDonald's, we got Pizza Hut, Panagopoulos, all the major franchise they have come here. Although McDonald's is not doing well because we don't like fast food here like that. We prefer really good food. Um, I've been lucky, very fortunate, lucky and blessed that I've come across really great properties. Like in Bali, we develop a property that's doing quite well, and it's self-managed. So you got full management in there, got all the people taking care of everything. I don't have to be there. I don't have to be hands-on all the time. I just check every week to see how things are going. All right. And in Dalat, it's like what you said in Medellin in Colombia, Scott, is that it's the eternal city of eternal spring. Dalat is like the city of eternal springs for me. It gets cold as 15 degrees Celsius and as hot as 25, maybe sometimes you might see 28 degrees Celsius during the summer months, right? And
That's
it
perfect.
rains It rains in the summer months, June, July, August. That's the rainy season when it's hot. So excuse my language, I call it piss warm. I can live
Yeah.
with that. I
Yes.
just cannot live with cold weather in August, September,
Yeah.
and September, October in Canada when it's raining. It's like it's cold enough. The rain just makes it
Yeah.
worse, right?
That's right.
Whereas winter in Dalat is like 15 degrees Celsius, but no rain. So I was like, I can live with that, right? Um, my gosh,
Very
there is
pleasant.
other parts of there is a whole bunch of other parts of Dalat too. But if you guys are interested in about investing and how to get 2 years temporary residence here in Vietnam, talk to me and book a call later, right? Scott can share the calendar link there. You can book a call with me and we can talk more. This is not about the resort development project, but if that's what I'm doing right now, I'm looking for a final investor to replace the one that couldn't come up with a final capital that we're looking for. The landscape in Vietnam, this is why I love Vietnam so much, guys. It is because the landscape changes within a half an hour flight. Between 1 hour flight from north to south Vietnam, you get Halong Bay, you get desert in Hue, you get in up in Dalat, you get these kind of moderate climate, mountains, highlands, waterfalls,
I
and if
want to
you
see the
really want to go to the
waterfalls.
city, yeah, it's amazing. Such a small country with so many different landscape within a short flight. Flying with inside. Hey guys, flying with inside BC costs an arm and a leg. Flying within Vietnam costs less than $100, $50 to
Yeah.
$75.
That's travel
It's insane.
costs is another thing
Yeah.
that people don't get when you travel. Like they, oh, that's so expensive. I go, well, it's $75 to $200 for a typical flight. It's like,
Yeah,
what?
it costs $250, $300 at most to fly to Bali.
Yeah, from Vietnam.
4-hour flight from Vietnam.
So that would be like going from Vancouver to Winnipeg, I think.
Yeah, but Vancouver to
Or a
Winnipeg is an arm and leg.
little bit further, right? Which is
Right.
going to be $500 one
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, we got return flight for $250 from Bali. The difference too is this, Scott. I bet you a lot of our viewers don't realize this. I can book it for tomorrow, and they don't jack up the price like we have in North America.
Right.
Right. Next day flight, are you out of your mind? That's like $1,000.
I use Google Flights, and you just reminded me of this. I'm looking for a flight from Johannesburg somewhere else, I forget where, and I see one, and I say, okay, well, and then you can click the calendar, and it drops down, and you can see the dates and all the prices. So I thought, well, then when's the cheap time, right? Like Saturday or Monday or whatever. Every day was exactly the same.
Yeah. It's shocking to us. We're not used to that, right?
Yeah.
I think people have the misunderstanding that that's what it is everywhere around the world. No, it's not. Oh, there's another reason why I use VPN often. So when I'm back in Canada, by the way, I need to book flights back home to Vietnam or go to Thailand or anywhere in Asia. I don't book from Canada. I go on VPN and I change my location to Asia. Here's the reason why. For some reason, if your location where you're booking it from is in a developed country like Canada, UK, Australia, US, it's more expensive. I don't know why, but they do that. Yeah.
It's because you have more money.
Yeah.
They know.
It's totally unfair. Right.
So tell us a little bit about your Eco Coffee Oasis retreat.
This is the rendering. This is the rendering. But if you guys follow me on Facebook, you see the status update. The minimum is $50,000 investment, which will give you a 5% equity stake. The idea is once it's built and then it's running stable for 2 years. At the end of the 3rd year, you get all your money back, the initial capital, plus you can still retain the dividend, the ROI, the 16.8% or projected ROI. The worst case scenario, I'll tell you, is 13.5% return. And there is no reason why we cannot hit 16% or higher, right? Costs of doing business in Asia, especially Vietnam, is so low. Hiring 16, I have a 16 personnel to run this 8-unit facility, and plus the cafe, spa, and the restaurant in here. It cost me less than $3,600 per month, Canadian, to pay 16 staff member. Yeah, the break even is pretty good. The break even is like less than $120 per day. So we have no problem. We have no problem in running this place and having a huge profit. Serious? If you're serious, just connect me on the calendar and I'll talk to you more about this. But today, we're open to any question. If anybody's listening in to have some questions with us in any particular, we can help answer the question now. So open mics to you guys if you have if you want to talk, or just put in the chat messaging box and we can read and answer your question for you. Anybody? How about
Rob had said a little bit earlier that he had a business in Vietnam, Thailand. He needed 5 employees and don't work in Bali. He agrees with you on that. And
yeah. True. Bali is very heavy-handed.
And they're deporting you on advice. They have clients all out. They have, I don't know what that means, but excellent advice and right mindset. We missed these a little bit earlier. Oh, yeah. And then when I'm talking about the Mexican, he goes, distrust government? That's crazy talk. Yes,
but here's the thing. I think government everywhere, in generally speaking, there's still corruption, whether it's back in Canada or outside of Canada.
Can't get away from it. It's people.
Yeah,
it's people. So www.calendly.com/with SUA, SUA.
Yeah.
to book a
And you can
to book a
choose, yeah, you can
call.
choose a phone call or you can choose a video call, and I'm more than happy to jump on a call with you guys.
Awesome. Well, that brings us to the end. Sua, thank you very much.
Thank you,
It's
Scott.
fascinating.
This is amazing platform. You know, guys, if you want to do streaming on a regular basis, this is an amazing, awesome. It's better than Zoom. It's better than Google Meet. And it can link, like for example, I'm streaming here to Facebook, but in Scott's streaming to YouTube. He can also save it for future use. And he's got a whole entire team that can cut up these clips. You can reuse for a whole bunch of social media for the whole year.
Yes,
Right?
shorts.
Yeah, shorts, they call them. Yeah. Uh, I don't know, man. You're making your life easier and making it harder. It's up to you, right?
That's
We
right.
we found a system that works and it's making us money and we're enjoying life, doing what we love. I mean, sure, at the beginning it was difficult, but once we have the standard operating procedure, once we have the process in place, I can fly anywhere. My time zone on my calendar changes to whichever time zone I am now. So that's it. All
Yeah,
right.
that's it. Thanks for joining us, everybody, and we'll see you
Thanks a lot,
next
guys.
time.
We'll see you wherever you are.
Bye bye.
Take care.